Minister Nkabane's decision to skip a crucial parliamentary session has sent shockwaves through South Africa's political and education sectors. At the center of the storm is a growing scandal over the appointment of the service's SETA board, a process now tainted by allegations of political interference, procedural misconduct, and cronyism. As Parliament demands answers and the public grows increasingly frustrated, Nkabane's silence has only deepened the controversy, raising urgent questions about accountability, governance, and the future of skills development in the country. In yet another dramatic twist highlighting the growing crisis of accountability in South African governance, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation Dr. Nkabane has ignited a firestorm by failing to appear before Parliament amid ongoing controversy over the appointment of the Services Sector Education and Training Authority, SETA, board. Her conspicuous absence has not only raised eyebrows but also deepened suspicions that the government is actively sidestepping institutional oversight in a matter that touches the very core of skills development, youth employment, and public trust. The outrage surrounding Nkabane's snub comes at a time when the public is demanding clarity, transparency, and above all, responsibility from those entrusted with the levers of power. Parliament had summoned her to account for alleged irregularities and interference in the SETA board appointment process, a process that has become mired in allegations of cronyism, policy breaches, and disregard for governance procedures. And yet, when the opportunity came for the minister to explain herself, to defend the actions of her department and to give the nation assurance that the interests of workers and learners remain paramount, she simply didn't show up. Inside the halls of Parliament, the mood was one of frustration and disbelief. Lawmakers from across the political divide were left stunned. Members of the Portfolio Committee, who had anticipated a robust and much-needed interrogation of the unfolding SETA debacle, were instead handed a notice of absence and left to grapple with a wall of silence. While ministers occasionally miss appearances due to scheduling conflicts or emergencies, what makes this situation far more troubling is that Nkabane reportedly offered no substantive reason for her absence. There was no indication of illness, no pressing diplomatic mission, no parliamentary clash, just an unexplained and almost defiant silence. It is a silence that speaks volumes in an already charged political atmosphere. The heart of the matter lies in the SETA board appointments, which play a pivotal role in shaping the future of South Africa's workforce development. These boards are not ceremonial structures, they control billions in public funding aimed at training and upskilling workers, driving transformation, and closing the yawning gap between education and employment. The credibility and functionality of such boards are vital in ensuring that training programs are ethical, targeted, and accessible to the most vulnerable sectors of society. But what happens when allegations of backdoor deals, political favoritism, and policy manipulation emerge? According to leaked documents and multiple reports, the appointment process of the service's SETA board appears to have been riddled with procedural flaws. There are claims that the minister's office bypassed recommendations made by selection committees, ignored warnings from legal advisors, and proceeded to install individuals with questionable qualifications or political affiliations. What has incensed many observers is the perception that this was not a mere case of bureaucratic misjudgment, but a deliberate effort to capture yet another vital public institution. In a country still grappling with the long shadows of state capture, the very idea of manipulation in the skills development sector sends a chilling message to the public and investors alike. With Nkabane's absence, the Parliamentary Committee has now been forced into a holding pattern, unable to fulfill its constitutional mandate of holding the executive accountable. The delay has effectively stalled efforts to investigate the claims and to implement any corrective measures. More dangerously, it erodes the credibility of Parliament itself, a space that should serve as the beating heart of democratic scrutiny. Outside Parliament, civil society groups, opposition parties, and labor unions have all reacted with fury. Many have accused the minister of contempt for the legislative process and disrespect for the very workers and learners that the SETA system is designed to uplift. The Democratic Alliance has called for an urgent inquiry and for President Cyril Ramaphosa to intervene directly, stating that this kind of executive arrogance is precisely what weakens public institutions and disillusions the nation. The economic freedom fighters were less diplomatic, labeling the incident a slap in the face of transparency and a disgrace to the cause of economic emancipation through education. It is no secret that South Africa's SETAs have been under intense scrutiny for years, often criticized for poor administration, mismanagement of funds, and lack of meaningful impact. Yet there has also been hope that reforms would clean the rot, bring in expertise, and deliver real opportunities to millions of unemployed youth. That hope now hangs in the balance as the latest drama plays out in slow motion, and the individuals responsible for the sector's leadership are nowhere to be seen or held to account. The question now is, where does this go from here? Can Parliament compel the minister to appear? Will Ramaphosa take a stand against one of his own, risking internal ANC tension but salvaging a measure of public faith? Or will this, like so many controversies before it, disappear into the political fog, with accountability buried under legal jargon and procedural red tape? The stakes are not merely political, they are profoundly human. Every learner who doesn't get placed, every internship that collapses, and every training program that fails due to poor leadership represents a lost chance for a young South African to break free from poverty. SETA boards are not trophies to be handed out in political deals. They are engines of change, and their dysfunction is a betrayal of the country's developmental agenda. This moment is a test, not only for Minister Nkabane but for the robustness of South Africa's democratic machinery. Will institutions stand firm in the face of evasion and silence? Will Parliament assert itself as more than a ceremonial rubber stamp? The answers to these questions will determine not only the future of SETA, but also the fate of a generation that has waited far too long for the promises of democracy to become a reality. If you care about transparency, accountability, and the future of South Africa's youth, this is a story you cannot afford to ignore. And we're going to follow every step of it.